This is Sweet Pea, an 18-year-old Arabian mare who was rescued from the kill pen. And this is her end of first week progress. And you can use this checklist in the order presented to have a timeline of training your own horse to start under saddle. So the first thing that we do is checking our ability to send them at liberty on a circle and stop them, potentially change direction and draw them in and let them follow us at liberty, which is the join up. Within this skill set, you should be looking for the following things. Can I send my horse out? Can I control their speed? Can I ask them to walk, trot, canter, stop, change directions, and draw in? With Sweet Pea, things have been just a little more difficult because of her background. Believe it or not, what you see right now is pretty good for Sweet Pea, being that she came with some inherited problems for being mishandled, being aggressive, not trusting people, and not being comfortable connecting with them, following them, or trusting them to be caught. As you can see, I've also introduced the surcingle just so that she has a feeling of something around her girth area, and then she feels comfortable moving with it to get her used to the cinch or the girth of the saddle. Skill number 2, can your horse back up lightly without too much pressure? Because that is the ultimate I yield to you for a horse, since they're forward-thinking animals, as well as it deters them from the thoughts of striking at you and running you over, which was the case with Sweet Pea. Skill number 3 involves lunging on a lead line. And why is this important? Because it gives them a different feeling. The liberty was more about making it their choice to join us, setting them up in a way that would be a good choice to make. And on the lunge line, they're actually starting to feel pressure on their faces and understanding how to yield to physical pressure, not just energetic and mental pressure. And this is important because when you start riding, when you start leading, when you tie them up and so forth, they need to know that they need to yield to pressure. And ultimately, you're teaching them again that you are the leader in the relationship. And then the best thing to do is yield to your questions and willingly participate, because it feels better to not have pressure on your face. Changing direction on the lead line is also vital because you're preparing your horse to see you from both eyes under saddle and not to get startled. Also, same set of expectations as they are at the liberty, which are, can I send my horse out? Can I stop my horse? Can I change directions? Can I control their speed? Can I stop them from the front, causing the eyes to turn to me and for the front end to come towards me? Or can I look at the hind end and disengage it and make them stop that way? Skill number 4 involves disengaging the hindquarters, because you are once again communicating that you can move each end of the horse on the ground and take the power and the motor away in cases of she wants to strike with her front feet, they're bolting somewhere and you need to take their speed away. That by controlling the parts of the horse, you are establishing your leadership position as well, and you're preparing them for that same question when you ask it under saddle. Laying a good foundation for pick up the correct lead, side passing, changing leads, getting over their haunches in all the advanced work that you might later do with your horse. Skill 5, leading. If your horse is not leading safely and respectfully, they're absolutely not ready to start under saddle. And here I'm just sprinkling in again the idea of the backup and reading my intention and my body language in the leading, because leading is very important. Leading is leadership. So if your horse is passing you when they get scared and spooky outside in the new environment, or just because they want a piece of grass or something that is more interesting than you, the walk, stop, backup is your foundation that you can remind them to get a hold of their thinking and communicate that you got this, they can trust you, and they need to still have the boundary of being the follower and you being the leader. Skill 6 is the sending, and that's very similar to what I just described. It is about leadership and trust, that if you send your horse into the direction that they want to go, they can pass between you and maybe a scary object, or you can send them into a trailer, and they need to trust your leadership to do so, and also be sensitive to disengaging their hindquarters so that you can stop them and redirect them again. Skill 7, throwing a saddle pad on your horse's back. We do that to prepare them for saddling. A horse should understand the intention and build confidence that not everything that's coming towards them and towards their back and on top of their back is something that wants to harm them or attack them or eat them, because that would be their natural line of thinking. But we're trying to prove to them that something on their back, it's not necessarily scary. And of course, you let the pad casually fall off their backside or under their legs or in the front, just to prepare them that they don't have to overreact if this was to ever happen. Skill 8 is the flag. A lot of people think that that's an advanced skill set, but I tend to want to implement the flag within the first few sessions because it further builds confidence in the horse. It absolutely strengthens the trust between the horse and you. Because first of all, when you walk away with a flag and they think it's scary and they witness you walking confidently with the flag flapping all over, they're amazed at what kind of brave leader you are. And then they get the confidence that they could do that too. And just the flag giving them their first ride is what it really is about. You usually can't control really where the flag goes, especially if there's wind helping you. It flaps all over, it moves and makes a noise, and that is usually very scary to horses. And then it touches them in unexpected, unpredictable, not rhythmical ways. And if a horse can deal with that, then that is a good indicator that they're well on their way of being successful in the riding. I just want to put a disclaimer about the flag. I have an utmost respect for the American flag, as my firstborn son is a veteran. And as you can see, there's a cross and a horse on the flag. But it does look like the American flag because, believe it or not, colors matter to some horses. I know people think they're colorblind, and to an extent, yes, they are, but they see different shades. And when the color is different, then the horse might think differently about it. And we are also preparing them to be carrying those flags at rodeos and parades and events. So I much rather use something as close to the American flag as I possibly can. And it is very important that they see the flag from underneath their chin, because that's a blind spot usually for horses, and they could have a big reaction over it if they are not prepared and trained to have a correct response. Skill 9 is picking up their feet. That is not a necessary skill to have accomplished before you start a horse under saddle. And in fact, sometimes, depending on the situation and the horse, you have to wait until much later in the training in order for their confidence to be built up enough that they would love to give you their feet. but it is very useful if you can get it done earlier, and it really would depend on the horse. So I am just beginning this with her early on in hopes to have the farrier trim her feet before her first ride. I am using treats for this and layering up my questions because she is very opposed to her feet being touched or handled. When I first asked her that question off camera, she offered to first strike at me with her front feet, then bite my back as I was bending over, and then kick me with her hind leg. And that is a defensive reaction. You can't hold it against the horse, but you do have to set boundaries and also be very aware that that might be their answer until you convince them differently. So you have to stay safe. An added traumatic component was that she has a cut on her left front leg. Thank God that does not affect her movement, and it doesn't seem like it's going to ever be anything to impair her in any way. It would probably be just cosmetic, but right now some proud flesh is growing on there, and when we took her to the vet, he recommended this steroid cream that we need to apply twice a day. So even for that to be to her benefit, we need to be able to handle her legs just a little bit in order to medicate her. And so basically the treats are just aiding to help her change her mind about her expectations when somebody handles her feet and make it a positive experience. Medicine tube, and then well done. Completely done. Keep in mind that this is not an exhaustive checklist of things that your horse needs to know before being started under saddle. It is just what you can aim at for the first week or two of training in order to prepare them, and then you continue to build on the skill set, and then finally you introduce the saddle and the first ride and so forth. I do have an extensive training collection that goes into detail about how to even teach them each exercise and what the full set of skills comprises of, and that could be found on patreon.com under Connected Horse Training. And there's different collections there. You can actually learn a lot more about all sorts of training, including liberty, horse driving, problem behaviors, trick training, and much more. Or you can reach out to me personally with questions and comments or help with training.